So today I want to talk about something very interesting. What happens if two bidders quote the same, they get shortlisted, and there's a tie in a price? Sometimes people think that because there's a tie, procurement selectively choose who they like, and it is some of the myth that I think we should be unpacking today. So what's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Lerato Sebata, your procurement specialist and, of course, business coach. A friend of mine liked to say that I must not say specialist, I must just say expert. Okay, so I'll let you guys to do that for me. Anyway, let's talk about this today because I do think it is something we need to unpack in today's masterclass. I'm introducing something that is so different, that's so unique. We hardly do in this channel, but you know what? We keep evolving and getting better at it. So now there are two things you guys understand when there is a tender evaluation. You have maybe 10 bidders that submitted their response, and then adjudication happens. 5 people are shortlisted. Now, in the 5, remember procurement, how tenders are done. When you're evaluating, there is technical, there is price, there is BEE, and sometimes there's financial statements just to check your financial health and or health and safety. Very different requirements. If you are sector specific, like CIDB for construction, they will add it up there. Or sometimes they need quality assurance like ISO certification, you know, a lot of these things. So be that as it may, once there is a shortlist, then you come to a point where 2 suppliers, they have quoted the same, and also maybe the total points at the end from an evaluation perspective, you find that the 2 of these companies, they've probably, their weighted score is 60, right? So remember, when you're doing tender evaluation, each criteria have its own point system. So in the point system, it equals to 100, right? To make it simplified. Technical 40, price 30, which is 70, and then maybe BE 30. Simplified. So you have 5 companies that have submitted a bid. Now, in this 5, they are all shortlisted. If they're all shortlisted, you find 2 of them have quoted the same. Maybe this tender was probably 1.2 million, the budget, and then all bidders have probably quoted 500K. But just hypothetically speaking, happens that 2 bidders have quoted the same. Maybe they've quoted 300,000. I'm just making examples, guys. Okay? No pressure. Just examples. For context reasons. What happens now? And I want to talk about this because some companies feel like, but I quoted low. What happened? Skipan, how does procurement make a decision? I'll tell you what happens. When procurement finds themselves in a situation where you are dealing with 2 different bidders that have quoted the same, and you need to make a decision, and they're all good in technical, their BE is probably the same, there, you know, a lot of things are just good. How do you select? It's a tie. I'll tell you what happens. This is where the value of BEE comes in. Because you know what? Your BEE score, it's a strategic alignment in that it's not just a level. You can be level 1 black owned or level 2, level 3. But remember, these are all different points allocated, or rather specific goals that are allocated. I'm going to talk from a context of both public sector and the private sector. So specific goals is the term that is used within the public procurement, and then the BEE evaluation is technically used within the private sector companies. So now what happens is that if Lerato ROI Group, my company, I'm level 1 black female, and in the scorecard, based on the evaluation that the client will be using, you'll find that they, out of 30%, they can say 10 points goes to level 1 black owned, 10 points goes to EME, meaning I'm an exempted micro enterprise. I make less than 10 million a year. And maybe 10 points goes to the fact that I'm female. Then there's company B. Company B, they are black owned. They tick a box of the 10 points. And they're not EME, they're probably QSE, they're qualifying supplier, meaning they make a revenue or turnover above 10 million to 50. So now what's going to happen? They're going to lose the 10 points from the EME perspective, right? And they are not women. So that means out of the 30, they only tick 1 box, which is they're black. While they're black, their management ownership is not 30% and more. They probably don't even have women ownership. So that means they lose the points for 30. And then they've also lost the points for the fact that they're QSE, they're qualifying supplier, they're making more than 10 million. And I'm still an EME, I'm exempted, I'm still making less than 10 million revenue. So you see, the difference is that now I would have scored highest from a BE perspective, and they would not have scored the highest, though we have quoted the same. And now what procurement looks for, which is the default, is whoever has scored the highest from a BEE perspective, then is the one that will get the tender. That's what simply happens if there's a tie. If we are simplifying it, to be honest. Now, it becomes trickier if, whatever reason it happens, that our BE is the same. Say we, both of us, we have black female, tick, EME, tick, black ownership, tick. That means 30 out of 30. Price is still the same. Now what? It becomes even more trickier. So what happens now is, we look at, can these people negotiate the price? Let's look at the best and final offer. I mean, I'm going to say this in the context again of different companies, different rules, different procurement policies. One can decide, let's go and negotiate and ask for the best and final offer, which is the BAFO. They send us an email, hey, you've made it to the final stage of the evaluation, and can you please give us a best and final offer? Let's negotiate. Then I need to decide as ROI Group how much discount I'm going to give, and then the company will also do the same. Then whoever comes with the lowest will then be awarded the tender, because in tendering, whoever quotes the lowest gets the most points for that particular criteria. However, in other instances, that's a simplified one, right? In other instances, one can say, let's look at their technical specification. Under the technical scoring, who scored the highest? Who has more capability? Who has more certifications? This is where the value of having reference letters and industry certifications come to your advantage. So in that one, we'll look at, okay, while they have met the BE requirements and the price, now let's dive deep into the evaluation criteria. So now under the evaluation criteria, I'm going to look at, okay, how many staff members do I have? Do I have a normal business operation? Is my company certified with this institution? What are my certifications, accreditations? Now, the one that is found to be having more than the other, of course, it means now they will be more preferred, you know? I know some of these things, to some people, it might sound like, ish, what are you saying? Seems like a lot. But to be honest with you guys, that's what happens in procurement. Because when a tender is published, no one knows what these suppliers are going to come back with. We don't know what is it that you're going to bring on the table. But what will make it different is that you must always ensure that you are qualified from a competency perspective. Capability is your team being capable to do the work, your team being qualified to do the work. And to some degree, especially where there's service requirements, where you need to, suggest resources and the team. Some companies, they really want you to produce the CVs and qualifications of those guys. So you can imagine if there's a tie and I've suggested maybe 4 people in the project, the other company has suggested 6 people, they have more. But even if they have more people that they've suggested, and maybe 2 of them are qualified from an NQF 8, or project managers with this institute. And on my team, everyone is qualified. They all have NQF level 8, 9 plus certifications or whatever. Who actually has more competency? It's myself. So this is where now the intricacies, that's the English word I'm looking for. This is where the intricacies of tendering become so technical and so important. So in that, when you're building your profile, when you're building a team, when you're building a business, you must take these things into account, right? So therefore, one must look into how do you continuously work towards improving your business to be that company that when you are faced with such dilemmas, then you are chosen or you are, selected in that manner. The other thing I was thinking of, guys, is when you are setting up a business ready for tendering, preparing your bids, keep in mind you might be on a tie with another company. And the one that will be selected not only will be looked at from a B perspective, but they look at your technical competency and capability, experience, and at the same time, your price. So if then you happen to offer the lowest price and you cannot go below that point, you come back to procurement and say, oh my gosh, I cannot go below this point. Unfortunately, this is just where I will end. And then that time you are literally at the end. You did not know that you're on a tie, right, with another company or in a tie. Then that company, obviously, when they offer less, you would have lost the bid. That's why I say in my masterclasses for pricing a tender is that please take into account when you're pricing, is your price flexible? Can you offer discount? Can you offer packages? Can you offer options? Are you able to move? Do you understand? If you don't, you have a problem. And that's just the sad part about it, right? So now what can we take away from, today's conversation is that when you are submitting a tender, procurement looks at the depth, not just the surface level of, wow, this is a beautiful company. We know about them. We've heard about them. The depth is what will rescue your business when there is such an incident like this, when there are now two companies that have quoted the same and one needs to be awarded. It now takes it to the depth. That's why you should have some level of confidence in your business of who you suggest in a team and how you set up your BEE, remember? And at the same time, how you ensure that your business capability is on top of the game. And I know that there are instances also where there will be a request for site visits. And this is where, again, another dynamic can be introduced. So sometimes if there's a tie, some companies decide, okay, you know what, let's actually do a site visit. Let's go visit these guys' offices and see where they operate. Is it a normal functional office? Is it not a normal functional office? Like what happens? Let's go and see. And then what do they do when they come on site? They're looking for maybe 5 critical things. One is there's a physical office. Tick the box. 2, does the office meet minimum requirements from a health and safety perspective? The health and safety officer will have a fact sheet that they will be looking at or a checklist. Are there fire extinguishers on site? Are there labels from the outside when you walk in that tells you this is where, how, is there running man in case of emergency? Where do you assemble? Remember, all these things are part of the health and safety from a normal office perspective. Is the health and safety file on site? Do you have certifications and like terms and conditions? When you enter buildings, usually you'll see like a poster that tells you if there's an emergency, go here. And these are our rules in the company. Whatever the case is in terms of how you run your business, all those things must be visible. It's right there. And that's what they're looking for. So when there's a site visit, trust and believe, those are the things that one will be looking at. And then there is a quality assurance, which is ISO standards. Quality looks into if there is no one at the office, can the office run? What are your quality management systems? Do you have QMS systems? Who does quality assurance, quality control? So therefore, you must have QMS systems in place. It takes a while for you to be approved from a ISO perspective. I mean, you don't have to be ISO accredited, not if also your business not doing products that need you to be accredited with the ISO or SABS rather. But you can apply some standards that show business continuity. In case you're not at the office, what happens in case this thing happens? Let's say you're working with machinery. When one looks into the plant, when you go into the machinery, the standards requires that there should be how to use machinery. There needs to be some form of label that is stamped next to it. So that's part of the quality management systems. You see, so now all of those things are looked into from a physical site visit perspective. So therefore, it is in your interest to prepare well, you get, for site visits, because these things help the procurement evaluators in deciding who the best person is. It's not just always about price. And this is just the purpose of this video. When there's a tie, there are other things that are looked into that can help the procurement team to decide. And let me throw in another one. During site visits, some evaluators feel like, you know what, let's actually interview your staff members. Let's confirm that the people that you've suggested on this project are actually those people. Are they actually running those particular offices? Is the CFO the CFO? Is the operations manager the operations manager? The supervisor the supervisor? What do they supervise? Then they want to sit with them in a boardroom and then they interview them. So there's been incidents where a friend of mine told me this, that they went to a site visit and they insisted to interview some of the people that were there as they suggested them in this tender. I remember they have your tender document. They say, oh, where's Lerato? Can't Lerato at the time is a cleaner. Where, guys? And this person comes, they're wearing the cleaning stuff, then they go into the boardroom and they're crying. Habo, what position do you have? What do you do? This company was the fronting and saying, oh no, we have so many people that are in management, so many people that are doing supervisory, so many that are doing that. And these guys are crying. I said, we don't know anything about this. We were just asked to provide our CVs and our IDs and all of those things. So Kante, this is when the company was fronting. So you see, and at that time, this very same company, they were actually the highest in the scoring because their bids proposal was top tier. But guess what? These are some of the dynamics that were found. So just wrapping up today's conversation is how you prepare for a bid is very critical. You need to look at all the elements and aspects that can take your bid right here so that in case you find another bidder that has quoted the same as you, tendered the same as you, and maybe also your BE is the same, then the depth of all these things I'm talking about, they start to play out. And whoever, of course, has it all together will ultimately be the winning bid. Let me know what you think. Have you come across something like this? Is it something you've ever thought about? If not, please drop it in the comment section and I'll give you guys some answers. Let's chat there. Remember to subscribe, like, and share this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.